Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited. We've been in touch for a little while now to line up this conversation about the work that Southwest Airlines have been doing with Squiz, and I cannot wait to hear your take on it. Without further ado, I am going to hand over to you just to hear about Southwest Airlines and your role within the company.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again for having me. I'm really excited. We love using Squiz, so this is a great opportunity to highlight all the wonderful things that you guys have helped us do and helped us achieve. So I'll start off by saying my name is Stephen Turkovich. I'm a digital product owner here at Southwest Airlines. Specifically, I work under our digital experience team. My product, in air quotes, is its strategy. So it's less of a tangible product and more of guiding framework that tries to make sure that our digital efforts align with our business objectives and the demands. And for us, that's why site search is important. It falls under our strategy umbrella because it's something that spreads across so many different customer experiences here. It's not just one area. So we always want to look to see like kind of like what is the overarching strategy of something like site search? Because based on what's being searched and based on people coming in, they have their own unique perspective of what they're trying to accomplish based on our customers and us too. So we always want to make sure that align from both sides.
So you alluded there to the fact that you use Squiz Search, and it would be great to hear from you why that has been such a focus, and I guess what challenges Southwest Airlines were facing previously with your search solution.
Yeah, so I think that's always a fun thing is what challenges do you have? Because they're almost always never ending, right? But I think overall, we know that if search is done poorly, it can become really a major cost to anyone in any industry, especially the airline and the travel industry, right? If a customer needs to call, there's a cost associated with that. And it's not pennies, right? It's dollars. It actually costs money for a customer to call and reach out. And that's something that it's not negligible to the company. It's not something that we just can write off, right? But that also it's a financial cost. It's an emotional cost too, right? It sacrifices customer satisfaction. If a customer can't find the right answer and the right information, they basically have two options. They have to struggle or reach out, right? And no one wants to sit on the phone on their vacation, right? We love talking to our customers, but we would much rather have them enjoying Cancun overall as opposed to reaching to us. So there's a cost to that too in terms of customer satisfaction. And I think also for us, we needed to have a platform that is able to respond quickly as we need to within the travel industry. The travel industry, the airline industry, both need to respond in minutes, not hours. So we need to have platforms that are able to meet those demands too, as well as also things like legal requirements as well, being able to update things quickly too in terms of deploying. But I think to summarize all of that up though, there's a lot of things that can go wrong within the industry, but with the proper search tool, there's a lot of things that can go right. And I think we can all relate to that, right? There's nothing worse than not knowing something and not being able to find an answer to it as well, right? That's complete and total helplessness. And our customers can't be the experts in everything flying, right? But we want to make sure that they can find the answers to their questions so that they don't feel like they're flying alone.
It's a high pressure situation, isn't it? Regardless of whether you're flying every month, flying every 10 years, there's always that element of anxiety about
Right.
around the logistics. And like you say, you have to be able to rely on your airline to have the information that you need at hand. And so did you find that previously you just weren't able to offer that information as quickly or as easily?
I think it became difficult because some of that weight falls on the customer if they have to peruse the site and have to find things. And like you said, it's a high stress situation. Even if you're a frequent flyer, if you're a first time, like you had your first child, you're not used to flying with a kid. So you show up to the airport and then you magically now realize, oh crap, what needs to be checked and what can be checked? Or your parents surprise you and now they have trouble with medication and you're like, wait, what? Those are high stress situations and you don't really have the luxury of time to find and narrow yourself down. For us, especially in those situations, we want people to be able to find it so quickly. So that's the least of their concern. And we can worry about getting them to where they want to be for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And so I guess you touched on some of it, but if you were to summarize, what would you say success looked like for you?
I think so. Initially, like immediately, I'm like, reduce calls, right? Because we know there's a tangible
Yeah.
cost and it's reduce calls because we save money. But I also think that's an outcome of, for us, it's a larger goal, right? And that's to improve the overall customer experience and the journey. So for us, if search is designed properly, it gets you the information that you need when you need it as quickly as possible so that you can continue on your way. And I think optimizing that journey overall does look like reduced call volumes, increasing self-service, providing quick and relevant answers. So minimizing the amount of searches that you have to do or the amount of information that you have to read, the cognitive load, all of that, meeting those regulatory requirements too. But I think it's easy to say it's minimizing call volume, but when we look back, we go, okay, if we have a better customer experience, we minimize call volume too. It naturally falls into place and happy customers come back. And that's the other thing. We're known for our customer experience and our focus, and that extends to all of our products and experiences. So when someone engages with Southwest, they expect a Southwest experience on whatever it is that they're doing. Search is included in that too, right? It needs to still be a Southwest search experience and not Southwest and then it stops right there.
What is the typical experience? And not naming any names, but if say someone was likely to visit a competitor's website, what do you think they experience different to what you're offering?
I think for us, we customize the search experience a lot more. We don't really have it like a set it and forget mindset with search. We're definitely very in it because we know that our customers are going to search during times of stress and unease. So it's a great feedback tool because we know exactly in the moment what our customers are struggling with. So we want to make sure that when they're reaching out for help, especially because like when they reach out and they call us or they message us, that's a direct communication. But search in a sense is like what people say about you when you're not in the room. Like you don't really know what's going on. And it's your customer reaching out and saying, I have a question. And you hope that your content out there is good enough to answer that question before they even come to you and there's a problem. But for us, we might always have it be customized and something that when you search for a problem or just an inquiry, really, you're getting results and are going to make you get your answer. You're going to feel satisfied and be able to move on at that point, as opposed to search is just another tool to peruse the files and keep going down deeper. We want it to be a one search solution and you're good to go, as opposed to you become this research scholar in the airline world.
And making sure that I guess whatever it is that it pulls up is the right thing at the right time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. I've taken us off into results a little bit there. So we'll come back.
Okay, we can go back to it.
I'm interested to hear. So I know that Southwest Airlines has been a client of Squiz for a little while. There's been some work obviously that's happening on the main website, but there's also, we've recently worked with you on a project specifically around the Relaunch Help Center. So I'd love to hear basically a bit about both. With the main website, what's been the sort of main solution that's been implemented there and the kind of high level impact of that?
Sure. So it's been several years, which is great. We implemented Squiz, what we call as like our global site search. That basically means it's searching everything, Help Center, our blog, also pulling in social media posts. So it's really pulling in a lot of different things at once. And we implemented that a while ago to create that customized and personalized search experience. And at the high level, one of the quickest impacts has been really search relevance, literally out of the box. It's really delivered relevant results without honestly any manual intervention. I don't want to encourage your customers to be like, we don't have to do anything to do something, but like out of the box, the baseline was phenomenal, right? We already had relevant results and we quickly see that they were showing up exactly how we would almost always want them to be. So that was phenomenal. We already had a good baseline to start from. And then from there, we've been able to tune and tweak the search results quickly, be more proactive in our strategies for like releases, changes. We'll probably talk about a little bit like the travel advisories, sales that we do and what we use search for there, and creating kind of those curated results. Someone searches for CPAP, for example, we're able to very quickly tell the system that we should be showing them medical assistive devices, and so that they're showing relevant results as well. But I think one of the biggest impacts has definitely been on that ability to be customized so quickly. That's a big one because we move so fast. There isn't a chance and an opportunity to take our time in a lot of areas. So we've been able to have a great baseline, be able to implement things and edit things fast without a lot of struggle or hassle, even if any. And that's huge. And that also leads to the new Help Center too. We had a great global site search overall. And then now within the last year, or actually earlier this year, we delivered a new Help Center and we actually engaged Squiz to deliver that search experience too.
And so what was the Help Center project all about? So you obviously had a Help Center previously. What was the move, relaunch that, and how did Squiz get pulled into the fold on that one?
Yeah. So originally we already had our Help Center pulling in search results into the global site search and they were pulling in for us. But at that point, the center was a little bit more like accordion style dropdown. So you would get to a higher level topic, but then you had to like narrow down from there the questions that you had. So this was a massive project, well beyond even just me. This was multi-years, a lot of teams, pretty much almost everyone in the company. You look from like technology to
Right.
customer experience, digital, brand, UX, legal, everything, because it touches so many parts of the customer journey.
Mhm.
Because basically, customers can have a question at any point of that journey, and they implemented it on Salesforce. And what was nice is we had the ability to integrate nicely with Salesforce with Squiz with the connector, which was like a cherry on the top of success, right? With they play nicely together. And there were bigger teams who did a lot of the work. My focus was mainly on search, but the biggest goal was on that personalization and self-service, especially during times of disruption, right? If you're logged in and we know that you're trapped in Denver because of a snowstorm, we don't want you to log in and go to the help center and you see an article or a result that's upgrade your boarding position and you're like, I just want to go home. So we make sure it's tailored to you so that you can self-serve. So it minimizes your stress. So if you're going to be there for another hour, you get on your next flight, you're good to go and you can go enjoy some chips and salsa and relax. You don't have to stand and wait in line or call or even chat. But all that spills over to search too, right? So our customers come to the help center again, like when they have stress, they have unknown, they don't know something. So we want to make sure that they get the right message without multiple searches or research. So they go hand in hand, right? So we had a really great help center experience being implemented, and we wanted to make sure our search experience mirrored that too and was just paired perfectly.
Yeah. And I guess the experience people now have on your website is the same as the experience they have on the help center, which presumably can only be a good thing, right? But
They-
the consistency across the two is probably helpful as well.
Amazing. Yeah. 'Cause I think that's the big thing too. We're able to push the articles from our help center over into Squiz, and we can actually still segment out both search experiences separately. So
Yeah.
we can
Right.
make some small tweaks to them, which is good
Yeah.
because sometimes they're a little bit different. But to your point, it's exactly right. We want our customers to have a consistent experience throughout. We want to maintain that parity, especially because our customers necessarily, when they search, they're not thinking of search as two separate experiences, right? They just know search is where they go to find help. So we want to make sure those are in the same line of each other. We don't want them to be so vastly different because that ends up creating its own problem in and of itself.
Yeah.
Maintaining parity and being like good experience, especially as customers start on the global site sometimes, and then they go to the help center. We don't want them to jump too much between the two.
Yeah. And just from a tech perspective, so the help center is built on Salesforce, and then you use Squid integration to connect that to Squid Search so that basically the three all work together seamlessly.
Yep, they all talk to each other, and it's great.
And how was that project delivered in terms of who did own it? So you said there was multiple people involved.
Yeah.
Who was driving it?
A bulk of it was our technology teams and then also our day of travel teams as well. Pretty much you look at their separate teams at Southwest for getting you ready and selling other products. And then you have a massive team that is looking at basically the day that you have travel up until you travel and all the things that are amassed in that whole entire group. So it includes great travel. It also includes if your flight's delayed, if it gets canceled, like how do we reaccommodate you and how do we send you, back on your way and get you to where you need to be? And what does that messaging look like? So it was a lot of those teams looking at improving their experience and then bringing in search on the other side of that to say, hey, we want to have this great experience. We're doing all these things. How does search come into that experience with us?
And you said obviously that we talked about the fact that you wanted to be able to mirror the experience across the main website and help center, and obviously allow customers to self-serve and be able to do that in moments of high stress. Was there anything else from how things would have worked in the previous help center that you wanted to be able to move away from or be able to improve?
It was the self-service side of things and being able to customize center. So that was on their side. And then from the search perspective, we still wanted to maintain all of the functionality that we had with Squiz. So all of the ability to customize the results and to still be able to control what they are, right? That's a huge one for us. So we didn't want someone to search something on the global site search and it naturally is great just based on the algorithm organically, but we're adding in those tweaks to make it even better. And then them go into a help center and they search something else, and then all of a sudden it's completely different. We still want to be able to contain a lot of those constraints because we know that they're there for a better customer experience. So from both sides, we want to be able to mirror not only the good experience, but also all the back end work that goes into those so that the customer, it just seems seamless for them overall.
Yeah, and presumably it reduces sort of duplication of effort on your side as well. If there's
Massively, yes.
and we'll get into that. Let's get into that. In terms of thinking about the, I guess the outcomes for the main site in particular, So yeah, as we say, working together for years, but what has been the sort of main outcome for the main page?
Yeah, this is a long one. As we've had a lot of really good experiences, which is great. We want all the great things that have come out of it. It's not just one or two things. It's a lot. So I think overall we can talk to those call volumes. So for example, it's hard for us to tie like you search something and then 20 minutes later you picked up the phone or somebody else in your party called, right? That's a little bit difficult for us to do because it's anonymized. But what we can see is you searched for something, you went to a page, you presumably didn't get the information that you wanted. So then you initiated a chat or you reached out and selected the call function on your phone. So we can directly see that someone has searched, engaged, and then asked for a higher level of engagement. So we're able to see that process. And we've looked in some of the topic clusters, right? We're looking at like 30% reduction in calls and outreach. In some situations, sometimes up to 50, which is great. 100% of that isn't just search alone, but it's that combination of search and content coming together, right? Because the better the content, better the search can index, and then you get better results and a better experience. So as we've been able to provide better content and Squiz is able to index all of that content and really customize it and personalize it for each search, we've seen an increase in just a better overall experience. It's also worked on the inverse too, right? Because we noticed that a lot of people who were searching for phone number, for example, were completely exiting. And when we looked at the results, we realized that there were 2 pages that had the word phone number a lot more frequent because they were bookings, for example. Contact Us was falling a little bit lower down just because it didn't have the keyword density that it needed. So we literally implemented a quick curator and we saw, and pretty much the exit rate decreased by about 10% in just a couple weeks. So it increased phone calls, but it decreased annoyed customers who couldn't find something. Also average searches too. We're seeing that decrease. It's only about 1.4 on average, which is great because we want to see that customers don't have to search multiple times to get the answer that they want. For all that exit rate, in some situations, we've seen it drop from like 19% down to only 10 or 12, which again is great, right? We want customers to search, get the answer, and then be able to feel like they actually got what they needed. Also, I think another result is to that point of being able to respond quickly, right? So the travel industry is always moving. So we have travel advisory. So there's a hurricane, or even now there's a planned influx in travel, like during spring break. So what we can do is quickly create those things up on the back end. We know what the search term previously, we can assume what they're going to be, so we can get those all ready to go. So if someone does search for Miami or Florida, we can already have things ready to go and up for the customer. So it's a better experience. With sales too, we know that as soon as we launch a sale live, people have questions, right? Because they might search for something and they might forget to put the promo code in, or they don't know where to put the promo code at, right? It's very common things. So our content team can see that. We feed that over to them and they can see that people are searching this and they go, okay, we need to create this content around this topic. We can implement it and get it ready for the next one to go live. And then we very vaguely touched on like legal and regulatory requirements, but we do operate in an industry that is regulated and for a good reason. And for us, one pretty easy example I think everyone can look at is like family boarding, right? If you search for family boarding, you're going to see results related to naturally family boarding and also other things related to boarding, right? Upgraded boarding, priority boarding. But for us, we don't want someone who searches for that to think that they have to upgrade or they're never going to be able to sit next to their child, right? We don't want that confusion to be out there. So it's easy for us to go, okay, if someone is searching for family boarding or they search for boarding and it includes some family related terms, we can promote all the family boarding results and completely hide all the upgraded boarding results. So it helps just make that customer experience better overall. And I think that's also another one because we do have that in a lot of other areas too. And it allows us to quickly go in and customize it as we need to. Yeah. And I think also overall, even internally, I think one really big takeaway is almost every department could potentially utilize site search because every department is represented throughout the customer experience and on the website. But while every department can benefit from it, it doesn't require every department in terms of infrastructure to do it, right? It's only a very small handful of people who actually go in and make the edits just based on their bandwidth internally. We don't have a team of 15 to 20 people who are only on site search. It's only just a couple. And that That's great, especially because it doesn't require us to have to PI plan and to get things through and sprint plan
Yeah.
and you said, and that's huge because if someone says, hey, this isn't working, or hey, we noticed something, again, the phone number, someone reaches out
Yeah.
and says, we see this is happening. Can we fix it? It's in there in 60 seconds and we're already seeing a result, right? We don't have to sit back and go, okay, now we have to plan this. It's going to take 35 days or 60 days, right? That's phenomenal. It's not a huge team that needs to do it. So you still have to bend over for low hanging fruit, but it's a lot easier to pick up than a team of 45 people and trying to get on a backlog. It's really great there.
There'll always be a queue of people thinking that their need is the most urgent out of all of them, right? But
Everyone,
like you say, you can tackle them. You can tackle them quickly at least. And it's not, yeah, we'll put that in the backlog and deal with it in a few weeks when we've got these other bits out the way.
exactly. That's a big one. And then also just being prepared with a lot of other
Yeah.
search engines. It just has to go live and the search engine will pick it up, right? And then you just have to wait for the
Yeah.
content out there. We're able to plan ahead of time. That's a huge benefit too. So we don't have to just put a page up that's about a hurricane and then just wait and hopefully people click on it. We're able to actually say, okay, this page is going live on this day, get our search ready for the exact same time. So they both go live at the same time. So the customer is immediately seeing it. So they don't have to wait for the algorithm to spin itself up, which is
It's amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're making sure they're getting the most relevant result straight away. You're not having
Right.
to wait for that page to be the one that's most popular and therefore it's bumped up the algorithm. Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned as well, I really like the point around being prepared for like launches and sales. How do you see you're sort of learning from it happening one time and then the next time you go into a similar sale, you think, oh, we know what happened last time, so we can preempt keywords. How do you, even just from a logistical perspective, how do you do that? Do you just have a team of people that know that you guys will have that data, or are you constantly amazing your team with the data that you have to hand? How does that sort of process work?
I like to think it's the second part.
Constantly in awe.
Exactly, right? I think that everyone just says, oh my goodness, we had no idea. We have a great analytics team, pretty much almost like weekly, bi-weekly even. We're going in and looking at our top keywords and then they're answered and our top unanswered keywords. So we're seeing the ones that people are still searching, but Squiz is letting us know we showed them a result, but we don't think it's the best result. CPAP was an example of that, right? People search for CPAP all the time. And I know when we originally started working with you guys, they're like, wait, why are they searching that? There is a page. And we realized that the page just doesn't have the keyword density on it. So we were able to create that intervention with it to know that it is a very, very highly searched term, but it's not the only thing on that page at all. That page contains a lot of information. So we look at those unanswered keywords to see what our customers are searching that are trending up. Also within Squiz, there's that trend analysis, which is really cool. It lets us know before a keyword that, hey, this is starting to trend up and it's like a 300% increase. And then that allows us to look and go, okay, something's going on. So very easily we can see the high level of what's working, what's not, and then start to plan and iterate based on that. And then as things do progress, like we are going to release a new product, for example, we do go back historically and look within Squiz to go, okay, hey, what was searched? How many times? What does that look like over the course of time? So we can see, is there a peak that had happened? Is there a seasonality trend with this, or is it just constantly high or constantly low? So it allows us with minimal effort to get that feedback and not have to spend hours upon hours crunching data. We're able to very quickly go in and just look if there's a topic that customers are actually interested in. And that also does help us in our content being prepared, but it also helps us if 5 or 6 customers reach out, we're like, okay, maybe we should look at something, but then we can actually go in and look to see, okay, was it really only 5 and 6 customers completely whoever needed that help? Or is it more people who just never had a chance to actually reach out to us and say, hey, digital hand raise basically. So it allows us to verify that too and go, okay, we see a trend that our customer service team is reaching out and saying, hey, people are emailing us. And then we can tie that with our data and go, oh, there's a lot more people who have that question. And we know there's going to be more in the future. So if we do this, we can make people happy silently and in the future, minimize those outreaches too.
That's awesome. And I mean, it just sounds like there's such a great level of communication between the different departments as well that really makes that run so smoothly. And I love what you're saying around how it helps you to prepare, or not prepare, but adapt content as you go. And like you say, the search solution will show you where it's not hitting the mark and where you need to make changes.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one. If it's bad content, the search is going to return bad content. So
yeah, exactly.
spend time properly. I think that's huge because we look at our top searches and the bottom searches too equally. We still
Yeah.
want to make sure both those experiences are there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely influences what content is going to be created and how that content is created, and it influences the priority there too for them, because there's never ending in terms of content. We can be feeding the
Yeah.
website forever. There's never a
Yeah.
time when they will run out of reasons to write articles and
Yeah.
information, but it at least lets them prioritize and go, okay, we know this is definitely something that's either upcoming with that trend analysis, or something that we know is there, and what we currently have maybe is one article when we need to break that into 5, because we know that people
Yeah.
are searching sub articles at that point. So we can start to customize the articles to a little bit more specific questions, as opposed to something that's overarching in general.
Yeah, that's so cool. And then, so what about the help center specifically? What have been some of the outcomes of that project?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it almost comes with that same thing of like, we're seeing a reduced overall calls and clicks from the help center. So like that 30 to 40% applies there.
Yeah.
I think a big one though is something that we touched on, which was a consistent search experience, right? Our customers, when they're searching, they don't know the difference between the two. They know the header change and the colors look a little bit different, but to them, the search bar is the search bar. So they don't think I'm searching here and not there, and that's why this looks different. And I think a lot of people do this with Google, right? You search for something and you click on a page, you read something, you go, and then you click back and you go right back to the search results, and you click on something else, or you search again and then you click on like the third result because you remember that's the next one that you wanted to check out. It allows the customers to have that same experience between both. If they are searching on global search, which a lot do, they start there, they see a result, they click on it, they go to the help center, they read something. And then if they search within the help center, we don't want those results to be so vastly different. Like, wait, that I don't remember that. Like, they're going to remember,
Yeah.
maybe the second one was going to be what I needed to read specifically. And we don't want them to go, well, where did it go? Because
Yeah.
you search and you're like, wait, this looks so different than what even like in the short-term memory, you still notice that it's off. Interestingly enough, we've seen our searches on global search haven't decreased substantially at all, which internally we thought, oh, a lot of people are going to forego using global search and go right to the help center. What we found out is almost they maintain the same level, both side by side. So in a sense, search has almost doubled for us overall, which is double the data, which we love. And we're able now to see the data side by side. So on average, about 1.5 searches are happening per session in help center versus 1.4 in global. So we at least can have baselines between the two and we can start to see them, but they're starting to really level out and be the same overall, which for us is great because we know we love the search experience on site, and we know that it's starting to work definitely on the help center too. So overall, we're having a good experience that's maintaining parity. And we always love seeing that because we know that it's helping our customers. There's always more that we're definitely going to keep optimizing, but we know that at least from the metrics, the areas that we're impacting are definitely starting to show that they're helping, so that we know that we're on the right path to keep moving forward.
Amazing. And it's such a complex organization, as you say, in terms of the number of people involved in just one person's travel. And I find that fascinating. And you just don't think about it as a traveler, right? But behind your one seat on that flight is, hundreds of people who are involved in that experience.
And it's scary too, because you know that if you implement something, you can impact tens, hundreds of thousands of people in a very positive way. And that's wonderful that you know that. But then you also know that if you don't implement something properly, you inadvertently impact hundreds of thousands of people in a bad way, and you're annoyed. There's definitely a lot of pressure where you lean to the good side, definitely. Hey, if I do this and it makes it really difficult for people, there are a lot of stressed travelers, and sometimes you may end up being one of them. So, it definitely, that literally a 60-second curator created in Squiz can literally impact tens of thousands of people. And that's wild to think of that literally in less than a minute, we can make people's experience that much better. That's wonderful to know, and great feedback too.
It's incredible. It's incredible to hear. And what would you say about, so if there were other organizations who were similarly as complex, dealing with lots of different stakeholders, lots of people wanting to feed into, not necessarily the search, I guess the user experience on the website, which ultimately ladders up to search in some respects. So what would you say to other people who, if they're watching this, are thinking, oh my goodness, this is actually probably the solution to our problems. I think we need to have a look at our search solution and see if it could help. What advice would you give them if they're at that starting point now?
Yeah, definitely. I think the lift isn't as big as it seems, right? There's a lot of impact that you can have without needing to make this be, a massive overhaul that's going to take years, right? It's not, hey, we have to release a brand new website, which is massive, right? It's not at that level. It's something that with just a little bit of work really can have a major impact for your business and for your customers overall. I think also understanding that search is an active, not a passive point for customers, right? Search happens during those times of unknown and stress. Making sure that process is just as flawless as everything else and making sure that increases your customer experience and your conversion is huge, right? There's a lot of data that you're getting from your customers from that. I think you're able to see where your customers specifically are struggling and they're reaching out for without the need of a survey, which is usually after after they've struggled and then they're very angry, right? You're like in a moment kind of survey, you're seeing that unedited in the moment feedback. So it's something that allows you to, I don't want to say forget it, right? It's not like a set site search and walk away thing. It's a great tool that can really influence where you start to impact in your business overall and where you need to invest to improve your customer experience. I think also knowing the customers don't want to search multiple times. If you're putting site search on your website and like your company, like we're not Google and Google does search through and through, right? But everyone is so used to a Google experience and is spoiled by a Google experience that no one goes to your website and goes, it's okay, they're not Google. No one really gives you leniency on that. And especially just in overall, customers want to search once, get the information and move on. If someone wants to buy a shirt, they want to get the information and buy the shirt, right? It's in their best interest and your best interest to make it easy for them. And the same thing for us. We want them to be able to buy a ticket or get through TSA quicker or be able to change their flight if they need to. All of that, the quicker we can make that experience without having to make them put on their glasses and research, the better. So I think, anybody else out there who's going, okay, is search worth it? Even at the high level, you're going to get a lot of great feedback. So I think just at that baseline, you're getting immediate feedback from your customers that can be used in a multitude of ways beyond even just search platform. To me, that's worth its weight in gold because every search is a survey result and every search is a hand raise. I think, from our perspective too.
I love that. Yeah. The avoidance of a survey probably is good on anyone's book. And so, as we've mentioned a couple of times, that you've been a partner of Squiz for some years. Are you able to share any future plans at this stage?
Yeah. So I think one, since we just implemented the new help center earlier this year, our biggest focus, especially to end out this year and start the next year anew, is to continue to optimize that search experience. So our content teams right now are using the search data that we have and also like current click data and bounce rates and exit rates to really see what articles are really working and which ones aren't and which ones can be condensed and which ones can be broken up. So a big focus from their perspective is definitely optimizing that over and over again to make sure it's at its best level. And we're working with them to make sure that search is also displaying those results as quickly as they're changing everything, because it's pretty much almost on a weekly basis. They're refreshing and making sure everything looks good. And then from overall search, I think the next thing for us is, and I've been saying it, like taking things from good to great, right? We really want customers to search one time and find the most relevant information. So much of search, especially in the travel industry, happens during times when connectivity is unreliable, right? Like you're at the airport, you're out hiking, you're at a remote location, you're at a hotel. These are places that connectivity is not really even the greatest. I've been at the airport, it says I have 5G and it takes me a full 60 seconds to load a page that's all text. Connectivity is not the greatest in some situations, especially when you're traveling. You don't have the luxury of someone being able to search multiple times because that might literally be a time constraint at that point. Yeah. So we want to get to a point where we're at 1.4 searches per customer. We're at closer to 1.1. We're as close as we can to having someone who goes, I have this question and I got my answer from search. That becomes even less of a research project for them. Because right now they can search, they can click, they can read, and we want to simplify that as much as we possibly can. And we've already started to work with Squiz on some ideas with that. I think the next stage of search, it's almost like the next stage of search is answers at that point, right? It's not just results, it's answers for us. And I think that's our next hope, is to really show results and show answers so that people can get what they need, or if they have further questions, they can find them below. But definitely that person who searched got the answer that they needed and they can keep on moving at that point.
Yeah.
That's our ultimate goal, because they're in the airport or they're in between the airport and they're in the jetway and connectivity is horrible in the jetway. So they're trying to double check, can they upgrade their seat when they're on the plane? People will instantly be thinking of all those things. You're like, do I have to download the app to get Wi-Fi? Like those things happen when you're standing in the jetway waiting. It never ends. That when you're waiting to get on the plane, you remember, did you turn off the stove? And did you forget all of those things? And that's when connectivity is horrible. So for us, if we can get our customers down to the one search, answer, or result concept, that would be phenomenal, because it just saves them bandwidth. It saves everything else, and it just makes people be more optimized throughout the entire experience.
I think, I think it's really interesting. And it's something that we're hearing a lot more of, that it's that discoverability piece, right? You don't want search to be a standalone piece of their experience on your website. Like they look at a page, they search for something, they find a link, and they're all sort of siloed experiences. You want search to just be part of the experience, give them the answer, like you say, or allow them to take the action that they came to your website to take, not just point them to the next page that they've then got to navigate through. Yeah, I really love that, mate. And it's exciting to hear that's the way that you guys are moving. And that takes us to the end. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave on? Anything we haven't covered that you think we should have?
I would say overall, we've had a great experience with Squiz for our search platform, and it's allowed us to do as much and as little as we wanted. We can go as deep as we need or as high level as we need, and we get an awesome result. I think that's huge for us.
Amazing. Thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it. I've loved talking to you. I feel like we could talk for hours, but we will leave it there. And thanks so much again, Stephen.
Thank you.